Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of Nightmare Podcast. It is April 27th, not too far from midnight. Wanted to come on to talk about the new championship that was announced this past Monday. As I mentioned in the last podcast, that I know I'm behind on some things. I wanted to talk about the Brock Lesnar heel turn and the Trish Stratus heel turn, but I'll address those on Saturday. I'm going to post another episode on Saturday. I'm going to do my WrestleMania Backlash preview, since that event is coming up next Saturday. I mean, the time is flying by. I mean, we're at the end of April. I mean, before you know it, it's going to be the summer. SummerSlam's going to be here. Then before you know it, we're going to be back in the holiday shopping season. Football is going to be back. I mean, it's just crazy how time flies. It's really crazy. And I guess you notice it more as you're an adult. I guess you're working and you're doing more things, as opposed when, you're a kid in school. It seems like, time is just taking forever to move. But I mean, it just seems like the last few years, at least for me anyway, time is just flying. But anyway, want to talk about the New World title. I've seen some comments already online about it being a consolation prize and everything like that. And I can't say that I disagree, because reason being is I feel you introducing this new title now, you are devaluing and diminishing everything you have done with Roman. Now, I get that his reign started with the Universal title. I get that. And that they added the WWE Championship last year when he faced Brock Lesnar. So you can sort of say, well, it's not really a big deal because his reign really started. I get that argument, but you have built him up as the guy who has all the gold, and he's the guy to beat. And now I feel like whoever does it now, because now that you have this, it doesn't have to be Cody Rhodes now. I just think anybody you pick now to finally dethrone Roman is not going to mean as much as it would if you didn't announce this title. And honestly, I didn't think you needed the title. And I know that the title picture was tight because Roman has faced everybody. And there was a small handful of individuals that he hasn't faced. But does that really give you a threat? Are any of those guys who are left going to make you think, okay, this guy's going to beat him? One person being Sheamus. And yes, there is history with Sheamus. What was it, 2015, that Sheamus cashed in his Money in the Bank and took the title from Roman? Yes. But is today's Sheamus going to beat today's Roman? Absolutely not. Okay? I thought you could have a good underdog story with Xavier Woods. I mean, clearly that's not going to happen. I don't think Roman has faced Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke just came back, but you're not going to have Shinsuke beat him. I don't think they've done AJ Styles. AJ Styles would be a good threat, but AJ is hurt. Even if AJ comes back, they might throw AJ out there. But again, if AJ defeats him, I don't think it has the pop that it would if you still had the one champion. It's like after Brock broke the Undertaker streak at WrestleMania 30, then to have Roman do it, 2 years later to beat the Undertaker, it was done. Not to mention it was expected for Roman to win anyway, and it didn't carry that same, oomph. I mean, I could have my WrestleManias off. I mean, I believe it was WrestleMania 33, because Taker did Brock at 30, then he faced Bray at 31. Shane was 32 in Dallas, so I believe it was WrestleMania 33, because 34, he faced John Cena in a squash match. He wasn't there at 35. I think that was the first WrestleMania he wasn't there at 35. I believe he showed up the next night on Raw, and then I believe 36, was the pandemic WrestleMania. And that's where he did the Boneyard match, and that was it. So I believe WrestleMania 36 was the last WrestleMania that The Undertaker did. I am just going to verify that right now. WrestleMania 36. Yes, that was the pandemic one. Yes. And that was the last time the Undertaker. So when Undertaker and Roman faced off at that WrestleMania, it didn't mean much. I mean, yeah, I know Undertaker wasn't in the best shape and all that stuff for the match, but it's just it wasn't there. He had lost already, so it wasn't like, oh my God, he already had a blemish. So okay, so you change it to 2 now. It's not a big deal, and that's what I feel what this does. So now I feel like if AJ beats him or Xavier Woods beats him or whatever. Yeah, it's great, but I just feel it doesn't live up to the level if it was just the one champion. And, back in the day, I've talked about this before, back in the day, a one champion, I think, worked. When they had split the brands. When they did the Undisputed title, when Chris Jericho won it in December of 2001, it was just him with the 2 belts, okay? Then when Triple H beat him at WrestleMania, they went to the 1 belt. Then they split the brands. And it wasn't until September of 2002 that they brought the World Heavyweight Championship, because that's when we first got the whole general manager thing. Eric Bischoff was the general manager of Raw. Stephanie was the general manager of SmackDown. They were both trying to court Brock Lesnar, who was the champion after he beat The Rock. He ended up going to SmackDown. Raw didn't have a champion. And then that's how they brought in the World Heavyweight title, and that's how that whole thing went down. But before that, they did the split, they did the draft, but only the champion could appear on both shows. That worked because, yes, you had somewhat of a stacked roster, but you only had a handful of guys who were considered top guys and you expect to be the champion. Today, you have a lot of guys who can rub Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Shinsuke, AJ, Seth, Braun, Kofi won it. You have Finn. And then if you want to start introducing, new guys, I mean, listen, if they gave Jinder Mahal the WWE Championship, they're willing to stretch that. So you have a lot more guys who's believable now to become the champion. Fuck, even Omos. You might say, what are you kidding me? Omos. But hey, they gave Khali the championship, the World Heavyweight Championship. So yes, I think you do need 2 championships, but I think they could have waited until they got both belts off of Roman. Now, apparently Triple H had this grand plan for this, but as you know, Vince is back in the picture now. And now it's a whole big thing. Well, is Vince, taking control of creative again? Because there's been some rewrites on this past Raw, and, some people are frustrated. Maybe McMahon threw the whole thing in there, but what I just saw the other day was that it was Triple H that pushed to bring this championship in, because maybe Vince squashed whatever plans Triple H had. But now it kind of looks like maybe it was a mistake that you didn't let Cody dethrone Roman. Because I said it in my WrestleMania review. I wasn't upset that Cody lost, because you could continue to build that story. But now they brought in this new championship, because there was talk about that, it sort of died down. Now they brought the championship in. So maybe you should have had that happen, because then, okay, Cody's your undisputed champion. Does it diminish him somewhat? Maybe to a degree, but not to the level of Roman. So I missed it when he unveiled it. Obviously, I saw the pictures online. I don't know what Triple H's promo was. I know he said that Roman was going to continue to be the champion. I don't know what his title is now. I mean, obviously, he's no longer the WWE undisputed Universal Champion, because now you have another champion. I mean, he could continue to be undisputed until the end of May, when they crown a new champion. But at some point, that's going to drop off. So is he just going back to WWE Universal Champion because that's the title he went with? And now does the WWE Championship just disappear now? Is that what happens? So what happens to the 2 belts now with Roman? Because I always did like the wrestlers. I always thought it was cool that they carried the 2 belts, because Jericho did it. And I always thought that was cool. So now what does that happen with Roman? And now, who does Roman face now? Now, I wasn't going to pick about where the draft and where people are going to go, because that's really difficult to do. And I mean, I do think there are some people who do need to move just to freshen them up. I wasn't going to do that, but I think I will also include that in my Backlash preview as well. I have to double check the dates of when the draft is. The draft might even start. Actually, I think the draft might start tomorrow. Actually, is the draft before the pay per view? Okay, I'm sorry. The first draft starts this Friday. Okay, so you know what? I'll throw some things out here now. I think one thing you're going to know is you might have a good idea of who's going to be the champion. When you find out where Roman lands, if they move Roman to Raw, okay, this person's going to be a SmackDown person. So I think that might kind of help you tell who's going to get what. In my opinion, I would like to see Finn Balor win the new title. Why? Because Finn got dealt the raw hand because he got hurt when he won the Universal title for the first time in 2016. He got hurt in a match with Seth. And I think maybe him and Seth can build on that feud again and kind of get the longevity they didn't get before. But, again, anybody who gets this belt, it does feel like a consolation prize because Roman beat everybody. Okay, well, you couldn't get that one, now I'm going to give you this one. But for storyline purposes and for Cody's, I just think you just diminished it. And I think there was a plan where you could have gotten, and I've mentioned it, a plan where you could have gotten one belt or both belts really off of Roman and then eventually split them. I felt if you wanted to split the belts, Roman was the guy to do it against. That whoever beat Roman got both belts. Okay? And then eventually you had to get the belts to a heel. Because then a heel would say, well, listen, I'm not defending both belts against this guy, he doesn't deserve it, I'll just do one, I'll put up the Universal Championship, something like that. So at least that person, because that's, excuse me, that's what a coward would do. I mean, obviously the heel wouldn't want to defend his title at all. But I mean, if he was really forced into it, he would weasel his way that, we only have to defend one, not two. And that's why I thought that would work with somebody like Austin Theory, we had Money in the Bank, or work with somebody like The Miz. Could have worked with Seth when Seth was a heel. But they didn't go that route. And now it's a different route. So now, who's going to beat Roman now? I have no idea. Because now, it doesn't have to be Cody. Because you can give Cody something else. And I think that also hurts Cody. Because Cody came back to WWE to be the champion. Okay? If Cody does not win a championship while he is back, his return is a complete failure. Okay? So, that's going to be unacceptable to him. So he is going to get a reign as champion. That is no doubt. But I think if he doesn't beat Roman and you give him this World Heavyweight Championship, I'm sorry. To me, his return's a failure because he's settling for second place. I'm sorry. You have built Roman up so much that this new title is considered second place. I'm sorry. You should have dethroned Roman first before you brought this in. And like I said, if you had done it right in the first place, you wouldn't have even needed this title. But you need it because it's getting hard to watch because these guys have nothing to fight for. And yes, it was great that the United States champion was getting a lot of love. And Khan wasn't getting anything. The Elimination Chamber, who was in it? United States champion. Who was main eventing most of the shows when Roman wasn't there, or if there was no tag team, it was the United States Championship. So now does that sort of make the championship drop a little further down, the United States champion? And does that make Gunther's title fall down a little bit lower? Or because we're going to split these brand names, get by the championship, we're kind of going to get back to normal where it's sort of on equal footing? Because remember in the past, Vince gave the United States Championship to John Cena, and he gave the Intercontinental Championship to Daniel Bryan because he wanted them to feel important again. And while Roman was champion, you were making the United States Championship feel very important, but you were making the Intercontinental Championship seem like an afterthought. And if I had to rank the order of importance, you were having Roman, your United States Championship, and then your Undisputed Tag Team Championship. And eventually, the tag team titles are going to get split. Unless they're going to add another tag title. But eventually, that's going to split. And I think that's going to happen probably sometime in the summer. I think once they, settle on what team is going to be on what show, then that team is going to say, hey, we want the SmackDown tag team titles. It's time to bring the SmackDown tag team titles home. We're going to challenge you for that, and then they'll lose them. And I think that's how that whole thing's going to go down. But I'm just disappointed because I feel they have devalued all that work they've done with Roman. And now you have to give guys like Drew and Bobby and, eventually Braun and Kevin Owens and Samuel, they're tag champions right now. But Riddle and all these guys, you got to give them a championship to fight for. Seth, you got to give them a championship to fight for. And yeah, and the whole uniting the titles with Brock and Roman last year, that was all Vince's thing. And Vince backed them into a corner. Now, of course, Vince expected to still be around. He didn't expect to have to step away. But, they painted themselves into that corner. And I think Triple H maybe kept himself in that corner, that now you had to bring this title in. But again, maybe Vince being back sped up those plans, and that's why Triple H fought for it, because maybe Vince didn't want Roman losing right now. But again, to me, you're devaluing it, and I think you've devalued Cody. Because now, where does Cody go after this? And then the other thing is now, what do you do with Money in the Bank now? Because before, there was 2 Money in the Bank matches, a Raw and a SmackDown, and then you just condensed it into one. The 2 quietly went away. So now, do you go back to that now? Do you go back to a Raw Money in the Bank match and a SmackDown Money in the Bank? And then whoever wins, so let's say Roman stays on SmackDown. So whoever wins SmackDown, they get Roman. And whoever gets Raw faces, right now the belief is that Seth Rollins is going to win that championship. Again, I'm hoping it's Finn Balor. I would like to see Finn get the title. I would really like to see The Miz get the title as well. I saw something about having Edge win the title because the World Heavyweight title was a title he never lost. He had to retire. Excuse me, he had to retire. He never lost the belt. I think they can fit that in because Edge wants to face Austin Theory, and I think Austin Theory has worked himself into championship material. And I think that would be great for Edge since Austin has lost the Money in the Bank. I think that would be good that if Edge does get a hold of the title, that Theory beats Edge for the title. I think that would be a very good match. So, or do you just go with the 1 Money in the Bank, and that's how Cody gets back in the title picture, and then go on to face Roman? And now that you're in the championship, I don't think you need to push Roman until next year's WrestleMania. Because I thought that's where they might try to go, keep Cody sort of in the mix, and have them revisit again. That may not happen. I don't think that's going to happen at all. It's possible that Roman can lose the belt at SummerSlam now. Which, SummerSlam's a big event. Like I've always said, behind WrestleMania, your next big event is SummerSlam. And that will be different. SummerSlam's a grand thing, and nothing really big has happened at SummerSlam in a long time. So that could be something big you can do at SummerSlam. But I just feel you've taken that meaning away from it. And like I said, Cody is going to be champion because anything less is a failure of his return. And you cannot have him given these such passionate and real promos just to have it fucked. Okay? It's story of good versus evil. And yeah, I have always said, whether it's movies, a TV show, whatever, sometimes the bad guy has to win. And I don't mean win overall. I just mean the bad guy has to get a couple of wins in, because overall we know that the good guy is always going to win in the end. So yes, you've knocked Cody down. We would expect that in the end, the good guy would win. And you really had it built up around Cody. And I just think now, if you have Cody settle for second fiddle, settle for that world title, I think it's a failure. I really do. And I would love to know what you guys think. Is this really a consolation prize? And I think it is. And I think it hurts Roman as well. And to me, it takes the importance of beating Roman off the table. It takes the big deal of beating Roman. Just like I said, the person who was always going to WrestleMania to face The Undertaker, it was going to be a big deal for that person. If Brock never broke the streak, if Undertaker won at WrestleMania 30, if he won at WrestleMania 31, he won at WrestleMania 32, and then went into 33. So it was 21-1, right? So then he would have been 26-1 because he became 25. Because he was 25-2 when he lost. No, I'm sorry. He would have been 24. He would have been 24-1 because he became 25-2 when he defeated John Cena. So Undertaker would have had the 24 wins and then the one blemish. And that would have felt like a big deal because Taker had lost, and the expectation would have been, you still might have felt that Roman was going to win anyway because of how they were pushing him back then, but it would have been a more special moment if Taker had gone into that WrestleMania undefeated. And now that you're just like, and now it sort of becomes, well, it doesn't matter. That's my dog. Well, now you can say, well, it doesn't matter that, Roman's still a champion because there's not a championship over here. And that's where I feel like the mistake is. And who now is going to face Roman at Night of Champions? No freaking clue. It's Saudi Arabia. And I would be very surprised if they do the title change in Saudi Arabia. Very surprised. I know they did it once with Goldberg and The Fiend, but I don't think they would do that in Saudi Arabia. But I would like to know your thoughts if you think that this is a mistake and who you would like to see be the new champion. Like I said, my first pick is Finn Balor. I think Finn should get the run with the title. And it's sad. And then eventually it's going to become a battle of which title is more important because they've had that in the past. Which championship was more important? Was it the World Heavyweight or was it WWE? And to me, since I was a kid, it was always the WWE Championship. That was your top title. And then you had the World Heavyweight Championship. And my dog is going crazy because he wants to go outside. So I'm going to end it here because he's just making a lot of noise, pacing back and forth in the kitchen. But again, let me know what you think. I know I was going to do this, do a draft, but he's freaking going nuts. I'll just do a separate episode after that once I take care of him. But tell me what you think about the world title, and tell me, does this diminish Roman Reigns? And tell me who you think should be the next champion. Thanks for listening. Sorry I'm cutting this short. He's about to freaking bug out right now. He's a husky. For a husky, he's fairly quiet, but when he has to go outside or he wants to eat, he gets very vocal. But right now, he wants to go outside. So let me go do that, and then I'll do another episode talking about the draft. And then on Saturday, we'll talk about Backlash preview. Have a good night.